Here's another personal venti type video. This time about driving. These past few months my mom has been really getting on my case about me finally getting my license and learning how to drive. And to an extent I can understand why. I am 20 now and a lot of other people my age already know how to drive and are driving themselves everywhere, but here's the thing with me. I never really had that much of an incentive to drive, and I still don't have much of an incentive to drive. And it's not like it's exactly imperative to learn how to drive where I am anyway, because I live in NYC, where there's public transportation out the ass, bus stops at every corner you look at. I mean, hell, there are two bus stops right around the corner from my house, one of which I used to wait at for the bus that I took to college every morning. And me feeling this way has resulted in many, many arguments about this with my mother, and we have argued a lot these past few months about various things. My relationship with her currently isn't exactly the best, but that's a completely separate video for another day. But anyways, about this, she says, it's so weird that I don't want to learn how to drive. I should want freedom. The way I feel isn't normal for someone my age. Yada yada yada. This is the shit that I hear every single goddamn time the subject is brought up. And sure, I'll take the written test, I'll get my permit just to get her off my ass, but at this current point in time, I myself do not have any vested interest in driving. Who knows, maybe in a year from now, I'll be laughing at this video. But again, at this point in time, I do not have any interest in driving, and I wish that my wishes were respected. It's not like I'm a huge burden either. I kind of like going places by myself. I just take the bus to wherever I need to go, or say if I have to go to the store for my family and the store is nearby, I walk to said store. And I love it. I love it a lot. I love going outside, getting fresh air, and walking outside. Especially if it's a beautiful day, it does wonders for my mental health. I love being outside, I love walking outside, I love the fresh air, I love the beautiful weather, everything. I went to the park last week, it was fucking heaven. Again, the day was beautiful, it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold, the sky was nice and blue. And it put me in a really good mood for the rest of the day, and even just simply walking to the store can do that for me. Something that going in a car and driving to the store just doesn't do for me because I'm not actually outside, inhaling the fresh air, observing the beautiful weather surrounding me. Instead, I'm sitting in a tight space, inside a vehicle. And I've never shared this on this channel before, but I do kind of have a fear of driving. Now, I know the only way to ameliorate this fear is to drive myself. I perfectly understand. I will eventually, at the very least, again, to just get my mother to stop nagging at me about it, but it is a fear that I have, and as I've shared so many times in the past on this channel, I'm not very confident in myself. I feel like if I do go out and drive, I'll get into a car accident and it'll cost me my life or the life of someone else, or at the very least I'll get into an accident and it'll be a big disaster. And I know it's irrational fear for the most part, but I mean, it's not fear that comes out of nowhere. Car accidents are one of the leading causes of death in this country and in this world in general, and I lost my grandfather, one of my grandfathers, to a car accident just a few months before I was born, and he was a good driver, he was paying attention to the road, doing everything correct. It was just another asshole on the road who was drunk that collided into him. That's definitely my biggest fear. I learned how to drive, it becomes second nature to me, I'm responsible, but my life ends because one day I go out on the road and I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time and some asshole collides into me and that's it. I remember during one of the many arguments me and my mom had about me learning how to drive, she mentioned that when she was younger, she had no interest in driving either, and she would have her father drive her around everywhere, and then she mentioned to me that her father wanted her to not grow up like my grandmother, not learning how to drive, not being completely independent, and my mom was like, he is absolutely correct, and she wants the same thing for me. But it doesn't exactly change my mind considering the way he died. I'm not saying my mom is completely in the wrong. Any parent would want their kid to learn how to drive eventually and become completely independent, but I do feel that I am independent despite me not knowing how to drive yet. I mean, again, I live in NYC. I take public transportation wherever I need to go. I have that independence. I can go on a bus by myself, and I have a bus pass and everything. She would have a completely valid point if we lived in rural America where there is no public transportation, no cities around, and you had to drive everywhere because everywhere is just land, but we live in, again, NYC, so it's not out of the norm at all for adults not to drive themselves everywhere they go here, because all the time on the bus I see people who look like they're a little older than me on it, or middle-aged people on it, and perhaps they did learn how to drive. I don't know. These are just strangers on the bus, so I don't know their life story, but still, these are people who are still fine with taking public transportation, people who are well into adulthood taking public transportation, and yet she treats me like I'm such a fucking weirdo for feeling the way I am. But I don't know, maybe I am weird. My perception on a lot of things are very, very weird, I'll admit. But still, at the end of the day, it is how I feel, and I wish I would stop being treated like shit over how I feel about things. But unfortunately, that's how my mother is, especially after my grandmother died. But again, that's a topic for a different video, but if that were to ever become a video, trust me, I would have so much to talk about. Holy shit. But anyways, that aside, maybe you all think I'm weird too. I'm sure a lot of you watching this video already know how to drive and will tell me, well, once you learn how to drive, it becomes second nature. It's just irrational fear that you have, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. But for now, I am a paranoid fuck when it comes to driving, and who knows? Again, maybe it might change once I actually do learn how to drive. My dad is also really big on me learning how to drive. I mean, he even wanted me to try to park his truck back in November when he came down for Thanksgiving, and I tried it. I didn't succeed. I started panicking once the thing started to move. So yeah, I still have a ways to go when it comes to my fear of driving, if I can't even fucking park a car. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.